You don't have to give me a warm welcome. No, you do. Because this is actually, like everyone is saying, it's a culmination of a lot of hard work, and a lot of which is done by the students and by Danica and by our staff. And so it's one of those programs that actually is near and dear to my heart, because a lot of it is run by our students. And believe it or not, other than the actual matching, a lot of the planning for all of our events and planning for how we're going to take care of any kind of problems that come up throughout the year are all kind of figured out by our students collectively with us. So this is one of the reasons why this program is actually such a great program, because it really is a student program. My name is Nick Theodore. I'm the Senior Director of Alumni Career Programs here in Alumni Affairs. How many of you guys actually have been part of this program in years past? How many of you guys were here last year at this? Okay, so you're going to remember exactly what I'm going to do. So for the next 30 seconds, I want you guys to stand up, introduce yourselves to the person in front of you and the person behind you. Not next to you, but in front of you and the person behind you. For 30 seconds. Everyone can sit down now. Everybody can sit down. Thank you very much. Now, the reason I had you guys do that is because I want to make sure that you guys understand that this is your Bruin family. This is it right here, right? There are going to be connections made tonight and throughout this program that you have never thought you'd be able to make, right? And by activating that network and activating that family, that's the most powerful thing that we actually have here at UCLA, is our 418,000 alumni. 418,000 alumni. And by activating it, it's really, really powerful. So thank you for doing that. Okay, I need one more volunteer. I need a timekeeper. I need someone in the front to keep time for me. Who wants to be a timekeeper for me? What's your name?
Marielle.
Marielle. Give me 20 minutes. And we're done. Got me? So, when it gets to 5 minutes, start jumping up or doing something to get my attention. Okay? Okay. So, as we talked about, this is our signature program here with Alumni Career Programs. And it's growing to be one of the biggest programs here on campus. I know across the country it's one of the largest mentor programs kind of activated through Alumni Affairs. Most mentor programs are either done through career centers or done individual departments. We're actually trying to do it for the entire university, which I know that sounds really large, but why not dream big, right? So I'll give you a little bit of a history here. About 4 years ago, we actually did a survey, and that's why the third bullet says Bruins helping Bruins. And we sent out kind of a survey and tried to figure out what was a good key phrase that our alumni would really resonate with, that would make sense and something that we can actually use in all of our messaging. And for me, I thought it was a no-brainer. It was Bruins hiring Bruins. I thought that was it. I thought, I had it, this is it, we sent it out. Bruins hiring Bruins, Bruins connecting to Bruins, Bruins networking Bruins, Bruins helping Bruins. Without, a resounding 80%, Bruins helping Bruins was what came back to us. So even though I thought I knew what I was doing, I really didn't know what I was doing, right? You guys know what's going on. And so Bruins helping Bruins, when we started to figure that out, that's when we started to open up this program and allowed more students to kind of have access and more alumni to have access. And as you can see, over 2,600 total participants who applied with 1,244 actual matches, which 4 years ago, I would have never thought it would have been 1,244 matches. Okay, 4 years ago, we had 212. 212 matches. So hopefully next year we'll be doing this in Poly Pavilion, if we don't have a flood. We actually were planning for this year to do this in Poly Pavilion, but the flood kind of sidetracked things. And the mentor season, I like to call it a mentor season because that's exactly what it is. It goes from October to May, and then it stops in May. You guys get the summer off, and then we start back. It's kind of like a hockey season, a little bit sooner. But this allows our students to basically have a mentor. If you're a freshman, you could have 4 mentors by the time you leave. Right? That actually activates your network. That allows you to have more access to more alumni when you graduate. The other key thing is we actually do listen to your feedback. And with this How to Select Your Mentor workshop, this came out of feedback from both students and from our mentors. Our mentors said, hey, I think it would be a really good idea for you to prepare the students. And our students would say, we weren't prepared. So we listened to that, and we actually had a How to Select a Mentor workshop, which about 320 students came to. And we actually kind of walked through everything and gave them some expectations, made them understand that it's okay if your mentor doesn't have the same exact major that you might have, but they might have similar experiences. And sometimes people coming from totally different experiences are a wonderful mentor pair. And we'll get into that a little bit too as we move forward. So, and trust me, English majors, counselor is spelled correctly. It's just the secondary spelling of it. It really is. It looks funny, doesn't it? It looks totally funny. And I double-checked it. I really did. I double-checked it before today. But counselor that's the second spelling. Anyways, so what is a mentor? Okay? All of these things are a mentor. Okay? All of these things are a mentor. And we'll dive into why it's important to have one and what the expectations are. But all of these things, and probably even 20 or 30 more that have secondary spellings, are also mentors. Okay? Let's go to the next one. So with our mentor program, we can't actually talk about the mentor program here at UCLA without actually talking about Coach Wooden. And Coach Wooden, I say coach loosely because while that's what he did as a job, he really wasn't a coach. He was more of a philosopher. He was more of a mentor. He was more of a life kind of instructor. Okay? And so this quote kind of has, there's 2 things that I want to talk about with Coach Wooden. First is he always, for all of his years here at UCLA, started practice at 3 and it ended at 5:30. And if you came at 3:01, you didn't practice. For all of his years here, he started from 3 to 5:30, you're done. He respected time, and that's something that we'll talk about a little bit as we move forward. And it's really, really key as you guys as students start to progress in your careers as well, whatever those careers are. The second thing is really actually a funny little anecdote, but it's actually really interesting. So every single year, first day of practice, every single year, with All-Americans, Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, and walk-ons, the first thing he did for 15 minutes was teach the students how to put on their socks properly and tie their shoelaces. I kid you not. That's what he did. Now, his attention to detail was unbelievable, and one of the reasons he did that was because they only wore one pair of basketball shoes, the Chuck Taylors. That was it. And so, if you actually had a fold in your sock, or you didn't tie your shoes correctly, and you got a what am I looking for? Blister. There you go. Those hard words. If you get a blister, then you're done. You're done for a couple weeks. So he wanted to make sure that everybody, from freshman to senior, Lou Alcindor to Bill Walton, knew how to put on their socks and tie their shoes correctly. I kid you not. And we'll explain why that's important later. So in our program now, okay, we have UCLA alumni, we have donors, we have parents, And we actually have people that are closely affiliated to UCLA. So not everybody is an alumnus. About 97% of you guys are. But there are some of you that aren't. We're actually trying to infuse more parents, and not for their own student. That wouldn't work. That's not the kind of mentoring we want. They wouldn't listen to them anyways. But we are trying to infuse more parents and more donors as well. So what does a donor, or what does a mentor do? Well, they provide guidance, they provide support, provide encouragement. We'll dive a little bit deeper into that as we move forward. A mentor is someone who challenges you, okay? Challenges you and is very, very honest with you. And that's important too as we start to develop our careers, whether it's academic, whether it's professional, even it's personal. Okay, that's something that another theme that's going to be kind of throughout these presentations. This presentation. Strengthening your network. Again, like I alluded to earlier, you literally as a freshman could actually walk out of here with 4 mentors. Now, 4 mentors doesn't sound like a lot, but as all of us know as alumni, 4 mentors know 4 or 10 or 15 other people. Like, I'm not a lawyer, but I know 5 of them, right? So if someone needs to get in contact with a lawyer, I can help you out, right? So that's how that network kind of works, right? Students, sometimes you don't think about it in those terms, but our alumni have access to a wider network than you actually think about. So 4 people can lead you to 20. So it's really important that this star actually stays up there. This relationship is not a transactional relationship. It's something that you actually build. And ideally you keep. Even when the mentor season is over, you still keep this relationship. It's not something where it's like, okay, it's May, I'm done. You continue it on, but then you have the opportunity to also have another one next year. But a mentor, someone who is not a mentor, right? That's the key thing, because we've had this actually happen over the years, and Danica and I and David actually are uniquely positioned to hear feedback from both students and mentors. And because of that, we get a lot of fun stories to talk about. And this is actually a really interesting one. We've had alumni say, well, I was in contact with my mentor early on. They asked about a job at my company, and after that, I never heard from them. That's not entirely what this mentor relationship is all about. Okay, you can't expect that this mentor is going to hand you a job. Okay. Same thing with graduate school. This actually happened twice last year. 2 mentors within 2 weeks, which was really weird, and they didn't even know each other. They had a student call them and say, okay, well, can you help me get into X graduate school because that's where you went? And he's like, well, I know a couple people in admissions, but that's all I can do. Never heard from him after that. Just dropped them. Right? So again, it's not a transactional type of relationship. It really is a relationship where the most successful relationships really dive in a little bit deeper than, hey, can you give me stuff? This is another big one, and it works both ways. So with students, obviously, we want to kind of make sure we don't have anybody, and I'll say it, that's a little creepy, right? If you feel a little awkward, a little uncomfortable with students, make sure you reach out to us. Right? And we'll make sure that we kind of address it, and if we have to unmatch you guys and rematch, or we'll take care of it. But we'll do that on an individual basis. Now, on the flip side, I don't think students can make mentors feel that creepy, but on the flip side, we've had, and this actually happened fairly recently, we've had a student and a mentor interact just to set up a time to meet. Okay? A week later, the mentor actually gets a copy of a cover letter that the student sent to her place of business and said that and literally in the cover letter, because she sent it to us, talked about how this mentor basically told her everything about the company, was trying to use her mentor's name to get into the company and have access to an internship. The mentor emailed us and said, we haven't even met yet, and she's using my name. And I feel really uncomfortable. So can we be unmatched? And we are going to unmatch them. So again, like I said, it's not a transactional type of opportunity. This is something where you want to build long term. Okay? So program expectations. Again, the big red bullet is something that you guys got to make sure. It's very important that you can't sit back and think, okay, it's the students need to contact me, or the mentor needs to contact me as a student. That's not the case. So in your interactions here tonight, and if your mentor and student aren't here, when you do have your early interactions, make sure you guys establish a communication schedule and a plan. Figure out what is the best way to communicate and how many times a week. Figure out the duration of time. Figure out if it's face-to-face, text message. That's okay. All we care about is ideally, or what we encourage is ideally one significant conversation. And that's you guys all know a significant conversation can be a text message conversation. Okay? I mean, that is okay. One per month. That's all we need. We're not trying to tax our mentors. We're not trying to make sure that they feel burdened. Okay? And the same thing on the other side. We're not trying to do that to our students because as everybody knows, and I think right now it's midterm time, right? We know that you guys are busy as well. Okay? So this goes both ways as well. Always interact professionally, respectfully, and timely. Right? Remember, 301 doesn't work. Right? With Coach Wooden, it didn't work. And this is something that, again, and I'll touch on it a little bit later. There's a story that I want to tell you a little bit later. But we'll touch on the whole timely issue. Because that, more so than anything, if we hear any feedback from the alumni, and we have, it is the student tends to not appreciate my time. Okay? Discuss expectations and goals during your first interactions. Again, early on, get those goals out there. We'll talk about the major 3 goals that the students usually have and how you can help them. But let's get that out there early so that you can actually have a path to work towards. Be open-minded when approaching your mentor relationship. And the reason I say that is because, again, just because they may not have the same background as you, they don't have the same major, something along those lines does not mean that it's not a good mentor pair. One of the most successful mentor pairs I've ever heard is someone who has an engineering background with someone who went to medical school. And that person who went to medical school actually had the engineer come to graduation and to her wedding. Another thing, not all mentor matches are perfect. Okay, that's just going to happen, especially with 1,244. Not all of them are going to be roses and fireworks. They're just not going to be. But that's okay. There's always something that you can get from a mentor. There always is. All right, so make sure, again, you're professional and respectful, and you'll be able to find that over a course of time. So setting goals. Setting goals is actually one of the key things that as our students, like I said, and when we talked about early on, when we talked to our students about what are the really key important things that they want to grab or they want to take from this mentor experience, is they want help with their goals. Okay? So their main goals and the things that you want to talk about, and there's 3 of them, obviously are academic, professionally, okay, and personal. And those are the 3 major goals for right now for students. And all of our alumni can definitely help our students in all of these different areas. 5 minutes already. Wow, we're going to go 25 minutes. How about that? So when you're talking about these goals, actually I might be close. We'll go 23 minutes. So when you start talking about these goals, academic is a big one. So when you're thinking about it, though, when you're an alumnus and you're thinking about how am I going to help my student, you also be thinking about how am I going to further my student in their academic goals, in their course selection, in their study skills, in their graduate school, and in their personal statement. Because if that's the way they want to go, and you have that kind of background, obviously you want to help them. As a student, you want to be thinking the same thing. As a student, how is my mentor going to help me further my goal? Right? Whether it's academic, whether it's professional, right? With soft skills, which we'll touch on next, job shadowing, which Kevin, who just left us, talked about, resume critiques, all of those things are important in development, career and professionally. But again, you always have to have this question in mind, how can I help my mentor further them, or how can my mentor further me toward these goals? Personal is a really interesting one, and the work-life balance question comes up a lot with students because they don't necessarily know what that means yet, right, for alumni. Now, because their work life is kind of intertwined right now here at UCLA, and as we all know, UCLA is kind of a fun little bubble to live in, right? and then you actually have to go to work. It's like, oh man. So that work-life balance piece is actually an important piece to help your students understand. Okay. So these roles are really important because when I start talking about the mentor roles, I'm actually talking to students. When I start talking to students, I'm actually talking about mentors. So it's actually kind of funny. Teach soft skills and polish. As mentors, please help us with this. And the reason I say this, and the reason why polish is in quotation marks, is for the last 3 years, from all the feedback that we've had from our alumni who are hiring our UCLA students, and from our 900 organizations that recruit here at UCLA through the Career Center, the number one feedback that they say is our students are fantastically bright, they just don't have the same polish as all the other kids. They don't have the soft skills. Which, to me, I take offense to that, because I'm a UCLA Bruin, right? But I understand it, because the way our academic system is set up, we're very, very theoretical in the way we teach, right? We don't necessarily work on the soft skills very well. So, here comes the mentor program. This is where we can really help our students compete. And we need to be able to compete, okay? Effective oral and writing communication skills. Why is that in red? Why is that in red? And this has nothing to do with UCLA. This is the #1 complaint from all the Fortune 500 companies that have been recruiting for the last 10 years. That the students that are coming out of academic environments do not have effective oral and written communication skills. Number one complaint. Okay? So if any way that you can help them with those written and oral communications, please do that. Be prompt to meetings. Here we go again with the prompts, right? Again, really and this actually brings up the story that I was going to tell you. Last year I had a really fun discussion, and fun is in quotation marks, with an alumnus who was really not happy with his second mentor because his mentee, excuse me, the first time he actually canceled on him, the second time he was 15 minutes late, and the third time he actually didn't show to a meeting. So he gives me a call and he says, "What's going on at UCLA?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, this is what's going on with my mentor, or with my mentee." And I said, "Well, I know that's horrible. I apologize." And I said, "But that is part of the mentor process, right? If you're a mentor, you want to be able to teach those students that, look, being on time is actually important." And he got on the phone and he goes, "No, that's UCLA's job to do that." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, that's UCLA's job, to teach them to be on time." Okay. So to me, I think if you're part of this program, I think that's a learning opportunity. That's definitely a teaching and learning opportunity that you can bring to the table to our students if that ever happens. Okay? Dress appropriately. That's another big topic. Right? We need to make sure that our students are able to compete in the global market. Make sure we're able to dress appropriately for meetings, for job shadowing, if that's ever something that our students are able to do. Writing thank you notes is another big one, by the way. That's part of the soft skills. That's part of soft skills that, again, not really taught here in huge lecture halls with 650 people. Okay? That's something that we need to get better at. Students. I hear this a lot from students where I haven't heard from my mentor. Well, have you emailed them? No, I don't want to bother them. Well, if they've told you not to bother them, you can email them all you want. Like, bother them. That's why they're part of this program. Students, email your mentor until they say, "All right, I'm getting really busy. Give me a couple weeks." Okay, this is a busy time right now. We're doing tax season, whatever it is. Give me a couple weeks. Unless they tell you that, bother them. Okay? Negotiate that between between your pair. It's okay. All right? That's why alumni are raising their hand and saying, "Okay, well, I'm here to help you." So go ahead and bother them. Students, you guys really don't sometimes think, "Well, I don't have anything to give back to the mentor," which is not necessarily true. Our mentors love to be able to connect back to UCLA, have an excuse to connect back to UCLA. Because UCLA, our time back when we think as a student, it was the best time of our lives. right? We want to connect back. Sometimes there isn't really an excuse to connect back other than watching a basketball game on TV. The other thing, we take pride in the fact that you guys are a reflection of the university. Because all of the mentors that have graduated from the 90s and longer ago, okay, so I'm 98, right? We couldn't get back into UCLA if we tried. Okay? So that is actually a huge pride point for our alumni. We talk about that all the time. Yeah, last year's graduating class, 4.3. 4.3? Right? That's crazy. There were no .3s when we were trying to get into UCLA. So you guys are a huge pride point for UCLA. All right? The last thing, you allow our mentors to stay current. Right? As we start to get older and we start to think about how great we were back when we were UCLA, we forget that, you know, you guys basically kind of are progressive. You guys are cutting edge. And that's important for us mentors to understand. Right? And that's okay. And that's actually another big pride point. You guys help us understand where their 20-somethings are. And we'll talk about this from our feedback here. So, Reddit.com, which you mentors, believe me, that's a big deal. I didn't know that, but it's a big deal, right? Reddit.com. This was Alumni Feedback. And we found this randomly. I don't know if I found it or Danica, if you found it. Somehow we found this. And this is a really interesting quote. There's 3 things that kind of stand out for me. I found it was very revealing to give back without direct funds. Okay, that is actually a huge, significant deal. Because not everybody can give back. And that's okay, but you can give back in this way. She also taught me a lot about 20-somethings, right? And the way that they think, your worldview, which is important. Again, remember, you guys are cutting edge, even though you're a little confused right now. But you're cutting edge. And we still keep in touch, which is great, right? This is something where it's really, really good that this actually happens after graduation. So this is actually student feedback next. Again, Reddit. Love this place. You also have the ability to network with other alumni, which is true, because when we have our events, you're also interacting with other alumni along with your mentor, right? So that, again, expands your network. And even if you don't hit it off, you still can get something. And again, she or he, if you remember, uses a ton a lot. So it must be really heavy. But I still talk to my mentor fairly regularly. Again, not all of them are going to be roses and fireworks, right? But these are some really good feedback, and it's something that's really interesting because, again, this you didn't think probably of the secondary effects of actually being part of this program and actually being able to interact with more than just one mentor. When you do, you actually have that ability. So, to conclude, 25? Dang it! I did it at 23, and I thought I could cut it in front of you guys, but that's no chance. So, we need to stay committed, right? So, what ends up happening is everyone's so excited, like this first month. Everyone's so excited, everyone gets together, there's 600 people here, actually about 700 people here, 907 RSVPs. Great, everyone's excited. 2 months from now, there'll be 60 people at an event. Okay? So we need to make sure that we figure out ways to keep you guys involved, but also keep each other involved. So we'll do a bi-monthly email, and it'll be a newsletter, and we'll just keep you up to date. If it's too much, let us know, but I don't think bi-monthly is too much, and if it is, just delete it. But at least we'll keep you in the know what's going on. Topics for discussion, I mean anything, we'll just bring up any kind of topical things that you guys can, just an excuse to talk to your mentor and mentee. The other thing we're going to be actually all social media now. So we're going to promote you guys as a mentorship pair of the month. So if you guys have a successful meeting or successful mentor experience, make sure you let us know, okay? Because we tweet a lot, actually. I didn't know this, but we actually tweet a lot. Brandy's down there, who's the director of social media, and she's probably mad at me. And because I don't tweet, but she tweets a lot. Right? So we'll tweet out a lot of this stuff. Anything that's very, very positive, and of course we'll put it on Facebook. Okay, and we want to make sure that we're just as kind of cutting edge as our 19 and 20-year-olds. So this is the last thing. Again, our email address. Okay, alumni go to Alumni Mentor. Students go to Mentor Program. Now here's what's going to happen. This doesn't count. Okay, we're done. So here's what's going to happen now. So if you haven't already met your mentor, okay, you're assigned tables, and then you're assigned letters. So your mentor and mentee, if you've both RSVP'd, will have the same table and same letter. Pretty easy. Here's where it gets difficult. If you don't have a table number, okay, probably means that the other person didn't RSVP. And if they did, and we messed up somehow, because sometimes usually it happens within our system, within our RSVP system, I apologize. But I will say, for those that don't have the table numbers, let's use tables number 45 to 50, which are in the back, for all those that don't have table numbers, because then you'll get a chance to actually interact and go, oh, you are my mentor. And then those of you that have already met, if it makes sense, please go ahead and use these chairs to interact. We're also going to have food out there. We do have light refreshments for you guys. We just wanted to make sure we talked to you first before it got kind of just savaged. So let's see. Again, to reiterate, we'll send everything out that we talked about today. The link for the externship, the prep externship, will be in a PDF form of this presentation. I'm trying to think of anything else. Do we have anything else? We good, Danica? Danica's actually my boss. I don't know if you know that. I report to her. And I think that's it. If you guys have individual questions about the program, about matching, go ahead and come find Danica and myself. And I think if David's out there, he's running. Yeah, David's way in the back there, waving. So go ahead and find one of us three, and we'll try to figure out how to accommodate what your questions are. And right now, it's kind of, we're just open networking. Enjoy your interaction with your student and your mentor. And thank you again for coming. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, let's just